welcome to IconiCon 7-minute fandom panels. So these are a collection of panels. We've spoke to various local people in the community who were very passionate about their fandoms, and they're going to go ahead and talk about those fandoms with us in 7 minutes or less. So it should be pretty cool. So we're going to start with diversity in gaming.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Miguel Dominato, and I'll be doing a 7-minute presentation on the game Dreadout, which is an Indonesian game, an indie Indonesian game. It's a survival horror, and I'll be talking about cultural representation of minority identity in video games, and Dreadout is my case study. So basically, my premise is that a lot of major games are typically representing a Western culture or a more Orientalist approach to Eastern culture, meaning that a lot of Eastern culture is represented through a Western lens. And a lot of Eastern games are typically Japanese, since Japan is a really big, has a really big gaming industry anyway. So a lot of exceptions to this is that a lot of games like Mortal Kombat and Silent Hill don't really count in my presentation because they are more appropriating and exploring different cultural ideas. They're not really trying to represent an identity. And my whole premise is that I'm exploring identity. So in Dreadout, oh, first of all, it's made by digital. I think the company is Digital Happiness, I believe. It's an Indonesian company. But anyway, this game takes place. It has a very simple plot. It's you play as this Indonesian schoolgirl who has to lift up a curse. So it's that sort of Mandala effect curse kind of plot. A lot of evil spirits run amok, and she has to go and find them and seal the curse. And it's kind of like Fatal Frame, where you have to take a camera and you have to take snapshots of different evil spirits. And the cool thing about Dreadout is that it showcases actual Indonesian folklore. So everything you see in this game, it pretty much is a representation of Indonesian culture. So the basic idea of cultural representation is we often think of, oh, how accurate it is. It's not so much about accuracy, it's about the meaning. Like, what does it mean to the people? Because the people count. It's not just what you are seeing. So in other words, this game is made by Indonesians for an international audience. It's not made by a major corporation, which is typically American or Japanese. So in a way, Dreadout subverts the idea of cultural representation and saying, hey, we can showcase Indonesian culture. It's not always going to be an Orientalist view, a very Western view. Everything you see here is what Indonesians experience. Um, so another example is there's a lot of coffee brands from Indonesia that is featured in this game. And so there's this mini game where you have to satisfy this hungry ghost who loves coffee, and you have to go find these coffee brands and make the right coffee for that ghost. And all the different brands you see, they are actual brands you can find in Indonesia. So another cool thing about this game is you collect different encyclopedia of ghosts so that you can read them. So there is a narrative text in this game. It's text-based. You can read up on, it's not mandatory. It's up to you. You can collect, not all the ghosts are mandatory. A lot of them are optional. A lot of them reference uh, other famous ghosts in Asian horror. Another cool Easter egg is that there is, for some of you who are familiar with Kung Puzzle, the landlady is straight from Kung Fu Hustle, which is really interesting and really funny. So, oh, sorry. Anyway, I kind of sped up a bit, but in any case, so that is my presentation. Basically, Dread Out is an indie game, and it's really nice that a lot of indie games are being made from minority cultures, and it's a good way for people to explore and understand cultures that are not otherwise amplified by the major game developing companies. So all of this is further reading that you can take a look at. A lot of my theories come from Stuart Hall on cultural representation. Edward Said he's very a famous scholar from the 70s who talked about Orientalism, which is basically the idea of studying Eastern culture but from a Western lens. And a better way to understand Eastern culture is to actually understand how those people look at their culture as opposed to us looking at them with our stereotypes and misperceptions. And last but not least, my favorite is Slavoj Žižek. He talks a lot about Pokemon, but he has a point here. He deals with a lot of weird abstract concepts about video games, and that's where I get a lot of my theories from too. So I hope you enjoyed that presentation. Dread Out is a really cool game. You can check it out on YouTube. And Tarima Kasi and Selamat po. Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk about Naruto.
Hello, my name is Ted Cheney, and I'm here to tell you about my favorite manga, anime, cartoon, whatever generation you're born in, it all has a name. So I want to talk to you guys about Naruto. It's the kid in the middle. A lot of the books, he's always teaming with other people and it's all jammed up, so I wanted to make sure you know who this kid is. So what's Naruto? Naruto is the journey of a kid who had the world put on his shoulders before he was born. He didn't even know it. Imagine when you're a kid in a ninja village, and you're surrounded by unfriendly villagers, and you get attacked by a giant demon fox. Imagine him about the size of the building and a lot uglier. But Funko Pops are awesome. So he has 9 tails, and he's probably the most destructive demon fox known to man, But somehow in this story, the hero, who is actually being born at this time, his parents get the idea to actually, let's imprison or seal the demon into the kid. So they do it, because it's really hard to actually kill one of these things. Can I say kill or?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
I good. So it's really hard to kill a demon fox. So the parents were thinking, okay, we're going to seal him in our child. The mother was already a carrier for him before, so it should be no big deal. It really didn't work out that way for Naruto. This is one of the reasons I really like Naruto. But so the parents sacrifice themselves, they seal the kid, and now they're going to seal the demon in the kid, and now they're going to have this person who can protect the village for the next, 30, 40, 50 years. And they save the village at that current time. But now, if you think about that, that sounds pretty outlandish. Your parents are sticking a demon in you, and it's going to work out for the best. You probably have to watch more of the movies or read the mangas to get more of a picture, but I don't really want to spoil it. So the 7-minute version, Naruto is a ninja in training, and he goes through all these trials and tribulations thrown at him by anybody who wants to do it. But he's learning how to deal with stuff, and he doesn't know about it. He doesn't know that he has a demon fox in him at the age of 12. The people around him are treating him like, well, I want to say bad, but it's worse than bad. They shun him. He doesn't have family. He doesn't have friends. He has people that he can talk to, but they're not really people he can go hang out with. And through all these, he still tries to go. He still tries to be the best ninja possible. Um, but you got to realize this story is about a child learning how to be a ninja. So it entails a lot of stuff. So, you know, it has fighting, it has death, it has trust, it's faith and hope. It has all these great aspects to it. But the big thing is, it's a testament on how hard work, dedication, and belief in yourself can make anything happen. Now, I said Naruto is my favorite. This is why. Naruto is about overcoming life. I know it sounds kind of weird that a 20-year-old manga is about overcoming life, but you have to think about his situation. He's in a ninja village. He's 12 years old. He can't do a ninjutsu to save his life. You'll find that out in the books and the TV. I don't really want to ruin it because it's actually pretty funny. He has no income, no real friends, no family. The village hates him. Every time he tries to stick up for somebody, he gets beat up. He doesn't really, but he doesn't stop. You know, he believes in himself. You know, he coined "believe it" before the professional wrestler Roman Reigns did. So I hope he gets some type of royalties. But and he acts out like any 12-year-old would. But if you're not paying attention to a 12-year-old, they're going to do some crazy things. And he did. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm just going to tell you that he learned from his mistakes. He learned that he has to hear all sides of a story. But the reason I like him more than a lot of things is because when I was growing up, I was in college. I used to watch the show with my friends, and I didn't really have all the advantages of other people. But this kid who had all this stuff, never gave up. Now, I'm not going to spoil a lot of this for you, but this story goes into different chapters, different arcs. It's like a chapter, and goes all the way to his late 20s. I'm not going to spoil that for you, but you really need to watch it. Now, I was asked what my favorite version was. So I started watching these back in 2002. So my favorite version is the Japanese downloaded version. So I was at Old Dominion University, hopping on the Ethernet, watching the show, and then downloading it the next day. To this day, I have like the first 7 arcs on my flash drive that I watch all the time. I'm read every manga up here. But my favorite ones are kind of the specials. When I was in college, they really hadn't came to America yet, but it's like this stuff called like Kakashi Gaiden. It's like just based off, it kind of fills plot holes out. You learn more about Kakashi's family and all that, but I'm not going to spoil that for you. Now, I get asked this question a lot, and I always get laughed at and joked on. My favorite character in Naruto is Jiraiya. I get picked on a lot because Jiraiya is, let's say, he was a great ninja, great warrior. In his time, he was the best of the best. But he picked up some bad habits. And I kind of, you gotta realize, when he was a kid, he was a great ninja. He was great at what he did, but he was really dumb around people. He didn't know how to act. And that was the way I was when I was growing up. I didn't know how to act around people. Not many people do, but he tried. And that's what I did. I tried. And we all made mistakes. But, he got a mentor. And so did I. And he started getting better. It's kind of the same thing with Naruto. This is Naruto's, mentor. He fixes every issue that Naruto ever had in his life in like a couple of books, a couple of episodes. He fixes the issue with his ninjutsu. He becomes a father figure. He actually does everything that I guess a good father would do. So that's the reason Jiraiya is my favorite character. All right, now the question that I always get heat on: who is my least favorite Naruto character? And I always get it because they're like, "Oh, he's a good dude," but my least favorite character is the third Hokage. He's a great ninja. Hiruzen was, he did his thing, but I just don't like how he treated Naruto. You gotta realize, if he was just upfront with Naruto from the start, hey kid, I'm sorry, these are your circumstances. I'm here to help. I'm going to be here 24/7 to make sure that you're taken care of. But he didn't. He pushed it on to other people. I get asked about these little guys right in front of me a lot too. These are Funko Pops. A lot of you guys know what these are. They're kind of like my favorites. You know, we have Itachi Uchiha, who's misunderstood through the whole thing. You met Kurama, the demon fox, and Jiraiya. You don't see this version of Orochimaru for a while, but he's the bad guy. And he's one of those scientific bad guys. He's doing bad things for the good of the world. So you can get these anywhere, you know. I prefer Amazon, but, you know, everybody has their exclusives, GameStop, stuff like that. But these are great ways to, you know, show your fandom. So, in conclusion, guys, you know, I recommend Naruto because it's a story about a gutsy ninja. I recommend anybody who wants to see how hard work, dedication, and belief in oneself can make the world a different place. And right around now, we need a lot of stuff to start working out for us. So that's why I like it. Tell all your friends and parents, let your kids read it. It looks kind of, you know, weird, but the lessons your kids are going to learn is going to be a great thing. That's all I have.
Okay, and our next topic is going to be Doctor Who.
Hello, I'm Rick Sabigtroth. I'm with Old Dominion Daleks. We build Daleks, and my wife, my daughter, and I have been Doctor Who fans almost our entire lives. It's considering it came out in 1963 and I came out in 1962. It kind of works that way. We've been building Daleks for several years. It started off as a costume contest entry for my then about 6-year-old daughter. We were in Michael's and we found one of those hemisphere domes and I put it on her head and go, "Do you want to be a Dalek?" And my wife sings, "Do you want to be a Dalek?" And it ended up winning Best in Show at Shore Leave, which is a really big convention beating out adults. And her Dalek was, let's see, grab this guy, a reproduction of this little guy, which is what saved Doctor Who from extinction. Doctor Who, after its first couple episodes, had really low ratings. It really wasn't working. Their caveman episode didn't work. The first episode was preempted by the Kennedy assassination. The BBC telecast of the Kennedy assassination, and Verity Lambert, the producer at the time, basically asked, it's kind of like, okay, we were preempted. It wasn't a fair shot. We want to rerun the pilot episode and then run the next episode. And even after the first 4 episodes, it was kind of, it wasn't going to make it. They were talking about canceling it. And then these things came on screen. 10 million people in England watched the Dalek episodes. And for 1963, November of 63, that was huge. It's kind of like they talked about kids on buses basically running around screaming exterminate. And the Dalek talks. But yeah, and on this side over here is my collection of classic Daleks, including little Bill Hartnell, the first Doctor, who got it all started. And basically, there have been a lot of evolutions of the Daleks. They have come in many different colors, and explanations for like the little disc on the back was they ran on static electricity that they picked up from the floor on their home planet, but once they went off planet, they had to have these little discs to pick up static electricity, and then eventually they kind of moved to where they didn't need it. And this one was one of the Daleks that was in the Dalek movie that they rented the props from the Dalek movie for Doctor Who and basically repurposed it, cut the big skirt from the movie off it to use in the studio. So yeah, there have been a lot of Daleks, and back in 2005, this one back here. And these guys came out. The updated bronze version that have been running around Doctor Who since 2005. They're pretty much, you kind of look at them, they have stayed pretty much the same to what they originally were. And then Moffat kind of went left, and these guys lasted about an episode. They show up in the background, the Skittle Daleks, like we like to call them. It's got Fear the Rainbow. And they kind of went away from these because they got so much hate. Yeah, and they went back to these. And these were so cool, the fact that they would rotate on the midsection, the head would face forward, and the guns would whip around and shoot behind. These were kind of the perfect Daleks, I think. It's kind of like just for design and the way they worked. And the Christmas special this year, they have a new design, the Scout Dalek, that came out with, and I managed to get my daughter one of the 13th Doctor Barbies.
Nice.
These were hard to come by, but the Dalek that came out with her, the Scout Dalek, is really kind of cool. It's kind of like definitely kit bashed, hardware bashed for them. And just a quick, plans for Daleks are available online. If you go to the Dalek Builders group, they have the complete plans for building your very own full-size Dalek. Problem is they give you the dimensions in metric and don't tell you how to put it together. All the dimensions of the outside of the Dalek are there, what each skirt piece should be in size. And you can see how we've kind of, when we scaled it down to make the 60, 75, and 100% scale Daleks that we have built, it's kind of like, there's the front page I was looking for, if I can get it to come off. We were gathering stuff all this morning. Yeah. It's from projectdalek.uk, and it is the complete Shawcraft original studio built Daleks.
Oh, wow.
And it is pretty much complete. The like 6 different eye stalks that have been on Daleks for just the classic series. And I've got a 3D printer now. I may get brave and try to do one of the bronze Daleks, but there are a lot of 3D printed parts. It's not like the cardstock and foam core monsters that I roll around now. Our Daleks are all foam core and cardstock and balsa wood. The heaviest part is the rolling base that they sit on so someone can sit inside and pedal them around, basically like a rolly chair.
Oh, that's funny.
The Terry Nation was the author who wrote the first Dalek episode, and his family still maintains the copyright for it and are very protective of it. I've had people go, "What could I pay you to build me a Dalek?" I said, "You can't pay me enough for Terry Nation's lawyers not to come and hunt me down."
Great. And our next topic is going to be the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Okay. So, hello. So I am Corey Land with the Suffolk Public Library for our 7-minute fandom talks. And today joining me, I have Kenny Hodgins, and he's going to talk about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. How you doing?
Yes. Oh, I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing good. So I will turn the floor over to you.
Okay. If you guys know, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is the first 3 movies with Tobey Maguire. They were a huge cultural shift of the early 2000s in regards to superhero movies. They had starred Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco. And before the what you guys know as the MCU, we had these movies along with several other separate Marvel movies. Well, when I would have been, I think, 7 at the time when the first one came out. That's actually what really got me into Marvel, was those movies. So when the first one came out, it was just, that's when the hype train began, and then I've been obsessed with it ever since. I actually have my movie tickets still here from Spider-Man 2
Oh, cool.
from the opening weekend. And I have an autograph up here, autographed by Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire.
Mm.
But for anyone who has never seen these movies, the first one was basically an origin for Peter Parker and how he became Spider-Man. And then the second, and then of course in it you had Green Goblin, who was played by William Dafoe, and basic origin story. And then the second movie had him up against Dr. Octopus, and each movie had a different lesson to it. The first one being responsibility, the second one being choice, since he had to manage his life as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker. And then in the third movie, it was about revenge and how to not go full or not let revenge consume you when you really want to get back at those who have wronged you. First 2 movies were hugely successful, and the third one, it was financially successful, but it got negative reviews. In my opinion, the third one really isn't that bad. I actually quite like that one. And I've actually cosplayed his the emo dance that he does in Spider-Man 3. In fact, actually, I have the shirt right here that I made for it. So you know, like how in the black, when he's wearing all the black clothing, he has his suit revealed underneath it subtly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But the fandom is actually still quite active, believe it or not. We don't really, we're active mostly on Twitter and on Reddit. We actually have a whole subreddit that Sam Raimi himself is fully aware of. When he was being interviewed for his recent movie, The Grudge, which was a remake of the older horror movies, he was asked in a Reddit Q&A if he was aware of the Spider-Man Trilogy fan base and the Reddit that is dedicated to his movies. And he said he was only aware of it recently, but he is aware of how active the fan base is. So the fandom itself it is mostly active through memes now, due to not having only 3 movies to work off of content from. We ended up finally getting the suit in Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah.
But and there's rumors that Tobey Maguire might be returning in the MCU as Spider-Man.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because what Sony has been teasing heavily is that they're going to do a live-action rendition of Spider-Verse with the live-action versions of Peter, rather than just having different Spider-Man characters. So it's just going to be 3 Peters interacting in the same movie. And the rumor is, if this is true, it's going to serve as a way to give closure to the Amazing Spider-Man and the Raimi Spider-Man movies, while also pushing Holland forward. I'd say my favorite thing about the Raimi trilogy so far is Tobey Maguire's portrayal as Peter Parker. In my opinion, he perfectly nails the classic 60s rendition of Peter Parker. Because in the original, not many people know this, or because it's like popular knowledge that Peter Parker is always a teenager.
Great.
But in the original comics, he was only a teenager for 28 issues.
Yeah.
And after that, he was an adult. And 28 issues really isn't much when you compare how many comics were made. So his teen years was only 1% of his entire story. So, and I felt like the Raimi trilogy did a good job of brushing over his teen years within the first 30 minutes, and then getting into the adult years when he, because in the movie he finally became Spider-Man shortly after graduating. But in the comics, of course, he was Spider-Man beforehand.
Right.
But they did a good job of going from him as a teen to him as an adult within a decent amount of time that kind of follows the length of how much time it was in the comic books. And the fact that they got Tobey Maguire to play him, they got his visual look perfect too. Because if you pull up a 1960s Steve Ditko Spider-Man comic and look at what Peter Parker looks like in there, you would think, hey, that looks like Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
So they really nailed the casting choice there. He plays the awkward teen very well. His Spider-Man, of course, he doesn't quip much, but they made sure to have the quips shine when they came in. Like in Spider-Man 2, when he's fighting Dr. Octopus in the bank, and he says, "You're getting on my nerves," and then Peter's like, "I have a knack for that." Yeah, I'd have to say, as far as my favorites, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite, 3 is my second favorite, and the first one is my third favorite. I love them all, but if I had to rank them, it's 2, 3, and then 1.
Is there any Spider-Man comics or cartoons or games that you would recommend that have like a similar feel?
Oh, definitely. If you cartoon-wise, I highly recommend the 1994 Spider-Man TV show by Saban.
Okay.
That one very well is in the same tone era, has Parker at a similar age as he was in the Raimi trilogy.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend that. Also, Spectacular Spider-Man used elements from the Raimi movies when making it, because it came out around the same time. Spider-Man, the new animated series, is actually an alternative sequel to Spider-Man 1. That came out on MTV in 2003. It was the placeholder Spider-Man 2 while they were making Spider-Man 2, essentially. As far as comic books go, definitely anything from the early golden age of Spider-Man comics. So Steve Ditko, like 1960s up until the 80s, you'll that's like a gold mine of Spider-Man comics if you're looking for stuff within the realm of Raimi's tone, because that's what he based his movies off of.
Hello, and welcome to another one of the 7-minute fandom topics. So I am going to, my name is Corey, and I work at the library, and I'm going to talk briefly about Dungeons and Dragons, because I think it is super cool, and I've been getting into it and enjoying it a lot. So we're going to start with what is Dungeons and Dragons. So basically it's a fantasy role-playing game that you play using dice, books, and pencil and paper. Basically you are an adventurer and you can do pretty much anything. So anything that your dungeon master will allow. So there is a dungeon master, a person that's sort of in charge of running the game. They come up with the story, they play the bad guys, they play minor side characters, stuff like that. So like if they come up with like a game where you're like going to go fight a dragon, you can like play an adventurer that has to go stop the dragon. Stuff like that. It's fun. It's unique. You can do pretty much anything. So it's fun to be like creative and come up with unique things, ways to like fight monsters or journey into dungeons, stuff like that. Personally, like in the game that I'm playing with my friends, I am playing a elf sorcerer, and I get to my two main magical talents are hypnotizing people and shooting laser beams. And I am very bad at shooting the laser beams because um, you have to roll the dice to determine whether or not it hits, and the dice are usually never in my favor. So like it's usually like one out of every 5 times that like I actually hit something with the laser beams. So it's always like a game of chance. It's like, am I gonna actually hit that dinosaur or am I gonna miss? So it's pretty fun like that. But and one of the things that I do like when we're playing D&D, like I like to draw. So like I usually like doodle various things that like our adventure party is doing during the game. So like I have like this picture. So like in the last adventure that we had, we fought a bunch of raptors that had like hypnotic feathers. So whenever you looked at the feather, you wound up getting hypnotized. So they wound up hypnotizing one of our party members. We had like a gnome in the party, and he got hypnotized. But I also know how to hypnotize, so like I double hypnotized him so that he was no longer under the control of the dinosaurs, but instead he was under the control of me. So that was wacky. But so yeah, so you can do like weird, crazy stuff like that. Let's see, like another like fun thing that we did, like we were fighting like a kraken, and one of our party members is like a swashbuckler, so she was like doing like somersaults and flipping in the air, and it was just it's really fun. So but, I mean, it's all in your imagination, so it's like cool like escapism sort of stuff, I guess. So if you have never heard of D&D before, there's a couple different things you can do. First of all, for one of my coworkers, Mary, she has recently made a video teaching a little bit of how to get into D&D. So if you're interested in that, you can look on our website or on YouTube, and you might be able to find the video for that up there. Another thing, when you're beginning, there's a couple main books for players to get. One of them is called the Player's Handbook. This one has like sort of the basic rules and instructions for the player for how they play, and then it like tells you like information about like different character races and character classes. So like if you wanted to be like a wizard, it would like tell you like, well, this is what a wizard does. This is sort of abilities they have, and then it'll tell you how to like play that in the game. So like that would be like probably one of the main books that you need. If you were interested in like being a dungeon master and sort of leading the game, there's like another book called the Dungeon Master's Guide, and that one has information on how to like build a game and how to create the monsters and how to come up with the plot lines for characters, how to juggle your party and make sure that everybody's having a good time, and stuff like that. So those are like good resources. There's also a lot of stuff online. Dungeons and Dragons has like a pretty in-depth website. They have like one called D&D Beyond, and has a lot of the information that's in their books translated online. So like there's a lot of stuff up there that you can like find that's useful as well. I would say D&D is for any age. So like I mean, the younger kids, you may have like, because one of the things when playing, there is like a little bit of math involved. So like, say like I shot a laser beam, I'd have to roll the dice and then count up how much damage I got. So like, stuff like that. So like, it's not too in depth, but like, I would say pretty much all ages can enjoy it, because it's at the end of the day, it's mostly just like using your imagination and coming up with ideas on the spot. So like it's fun and kind of like improv, I guess. Like so it's a mix of improv and math. So so that's my opinion on that. And if you're interested in trying D&D yourself, we are currently doing some virtual D&D campaigns. So if you go onto our website, you can find out some more information about that. And it's a pretty fun thing to do, like especially now when you have to social distance. My group actually, we're doing that. One of our members is currently living in Texas, and another one is in I believe Michigan. So so you don't have to be in the same room to play even. So it's pretty cool. So so just D&D. It's fun. You should play it. Give it a shot. Roll the dice. So that's my 7-minute fandom panel. Definitely, if you're interested or in D&D, definitely check it out. Look it up. Find out more. Bye.